They stood beneath the gilded arch of the Galactic Concord Dome, tall and regal in shimmering robes of white, their hands clasped around ceremonial quills, their lips curved in perfect smiles. But Earth watched from orbit, silent and cold. We knew the look in their eyes, not of unity, but of conquest. Beneath the surface of every vow they made, every bow they offered, we saw the twitch of contempt, the flicker of calculation, and though the treaty was signed in gold ink and translated into 27 galactic dialects, we archived it under threats, not under triumphs. Our diplomats bowed, our ambassadors shook hands, but our generals were already moving satellites and black projects into motion. They broadcast parades and celebrations across systems. Their media hailed a new era of peace, the first ever unbroken agreement between humans and the Genari coalition, the first time the galaxy would breathe easy. Or so they claimed, but in bunkers beneath the Canadian ice sheet and craters on Mars, and domes hidden beneath Europa's frost, our scientists were finishing weapons that didn't exist on any peace registry, weapons that hummed when no one was near, weapons that didn't need to fire to kill. Our AI listened to Genari transmissions our spies embedded in the upper orbits of their inner ring colonies whispered truths not even they knew they had revealed. And Earth prepared not for diplomacy, but for impact. Centuries ago, Earth knew peace was often the prelude to surrender. Treaties were written on the backs of broken cities and promises made at gunpoint. Our history books taught us that peace without parity was nothing more than submission. And the Genari had studied our weaknesses, our population densities, our biological vulnerabilities, and they came not with fleets but with flattery. They offered trade and medical assistance, but always with a clause that rewrote sovereignty in ways only lawyers could decode. And our ancestors might have faltered, might have knelt, but we did not. Our satellites watched their convoys, our machines log every pattern of every starship's exhaust signature, and somewhere deep in the Andes, an engine whirred to life that should not exist. We forged no swords, but satellites of silence and solar sails that glittered like stars. We spun webs of gravity mines in unclaimed space, cloaked in light-bending panels, and we bred soldiers not of flesh, but of thought, uploaded into drones that could swarm and vanish and swarm again. And beneath the Sahara a vault opened, containing something built by no nation, but funded by all. Last game, a response not to violence, but to inevitability. And as we smiled at the Genari and toasted with their ambassadors, we calibrated shields that bent laws of physics and lasers that spoke the language of stars. And we named our final protocol not after peace, but after prophecy. The Genari ships hung low over Earth, a gesture, they said, of friendship, a gesture, they said, of openness. But our telescopes caught the flicker of shield flares, our codebreakers heard low-band pings that danced with military cadence, and our oceanic relays caught strange surges in thermal signatures as if they powered weapons, but claimed it was celebration. And still, we smiled, still we nodded, still we played the role of the grateful neighbor, as we quietly tested our temporal dampeners and quantum missiles that could unfold from string space without leaving a ripple behind. And they smiled wider, their fleet pressed closer, their offers got sweeter and sweeter until we tasted the metal behind them. It started with silence, the kind that rings just before a scream, the kind birds once recognized in forests right before a predator pounced. And on a Tuesday morning, as the sun crept over the Atlantic, their ships drifted half a kilometer closer, not fast, not enough to alarm anyone who didn't understand tactics, but enough for us. We had models, simulations, patterns, and the math said one thing: they were tightening the noose. And so Earth flipped the silent switch across networks, and our civilian comms froze, while military nodes whispered to each other in encrypted patterns. And Earth's magnetic field shuddered for a breath as our oldest contingency plan Woke, and the sky above New Delhi cracked, not with light, not with sound, but with possibility. They called it a malfunction, a test gone wrong, a diplomatic misfire as one of their vessels exploded above the Pacific. But we had detonated nothing. We had only activated a mirror, and they had fired first, thinking we'd never see it, thinking their invisible pulse beam would pass unnoticed through our ionosphere and shut down 1,000 defense grids, but instead, it rebounded into their own stealth ship and left it bleeding plasma and guilt. And when they denied it, our satellites projected the unfiltered truth across their own networks, footage, sound, telemetry, and code as undeniable as death. And in that moment, the lie of peace cracked and fell like glass under the weight of history. In orbit, their fleet turned, not to flee, but to form the spear, the same formation they used to shatter the Revan Armada a century before, the same strategy we had studied until every human child could recognize it in their sleep. And just as they moved, we activated the shield wall not around Earth, but around the solar system, each segment a black prism of gravitic distortion, each node bending light and time and fury, and our swarm AI burst from Europa's vaults shaped like nothing living, yet brimming with life. And while their ships hesitated, calculating the impossible, our drones moved through them like wind through paper, cutting without impact, searing without flame, and all across Earth, humanity watched the second sun rise from the detonation of their flagship above Jupiter's orbit. And still, we did not cheer. We only prepared for more. The war did not begin that day, because it had begun long ago. The day they first smiled too wide. The day their hands stayed on the treaty table a second too long. The day they asked about Earth's core shielding, before asking about Earth's people and humanity. Had learned to read the signs, not through paranoia, but through legacy. We were the ones who survived ourselves, who learned peace not as a goal, but as a blade that must be sheathed, but never dull. And as the Janari retreated, licking wounds and recalibrating intent, we began again, not to retaliate, but to reinforce, not to conquer, but to endure, because we knew peace would one day return wearing another mask, and we would greet it again with open hands and eyes that never closed.